Let me just sum up the 3 yogas. Incidentally, today is Krishna Janmashtami. Such an auspicious day to sit and introspect and reflect on the message of the Gita, on the message of God Himself. Do you know why it is called Bhagavad Gita? Have you ever analyzed why it is called Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita means God's song, the song celestial. What is the significance of calling it Bhagavad Gita? Because only God is capable of singing a song on the battlefield. When you are faced by 18 Akshavahini Senas on both sides of the Kurukshetra battlefield, here is Krishna singing the divine song. When man is faced with difficulties, he is lost in concern, in worry, in stress, in anxiety, in tension of what will happen. But when God is surrounded with difficulties, he is unperturbed, and what comes forth from him becomes the song celestial. So there is so much of significance in the word Gita itself, because it communicates a message that true divinity is that which is unperturbed or unaffected by what lies ahead. True divinity dwells in the joy of the present. So let us sum up the 3 yogas which Krishna communicated through the Bhagavad Gita. Many yogas, but the 3 key yogas. First is the Karma Yoga. And we often misinterpret Karma Yoga with Karma Tyaga, giving up action. Krishna never said giving up action. That's why spirituality is usually considered a post-retirement phenomena, because you're supposed to be giving up all actions, giving up all worldly duties, retired physically, so retired mentally also. So you subscribe to the spiritual path. Karma Yoga is not giving up action. Karma Yoga is giving up the expectations of the fruits of the action. Ma phaleshu kadachana. Do not expect the fruit of the action, but indulge in the action all the time. And in the midst of all the confusion that Arjuna was going through, Krishna says, Arjuna, look at me. Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana. In all the 3 worlds of this creation, I do not need to indulge in any action. Yet, I am constantly engaged in action so that I can set an example for everyone. That is the message of Karma Yoga that Krishna has given. That the whole core objective of life is to set an example by whatever we do, so that others are inspired by our example and are able to emulate those virtues in their lives. That is the core message of Karma Yoga. The next is Bhakti Yoga. And we discussed Bhakti Yoga in great detail yesterday in Navvidha Bhakti. But I'll just repeat one core point, which is the core of Bhakti Yoga. That love is the essence of devotion, and devotion is the means to liberation. But this love is already present in all of us. The direction in which this love is channelized is what will be the outcome. When this love gets channelized towards the world, it becomes raga, attachment. When this love is directed towards God, it becomes bhakti. So, the secret to attaining God, or the power or the means to attaining God, is already present within our reach. What is not present is the desire to direct it in the right direction. So that is the core message of Bhakti Yoga, that this love has to be channelized towards the divine. And Swami always used to give the example which I narrated yesterday about the lock and key. Same lock, same key. You turn it to the right, it opens. You turn it to the left, it closes. There is no separate key to open a lock, and there is no separate key to close the lock. It is the same key, only the direction makes all the difference. Then we come to the third part, which is Jnana Yoga. There are 3 prerequisites for Jnana Yoga. One is Vairagya, detachment. One is Indriya Nigraha, which is sense control. And third is Visaya Visarjana, which is discarding sense objects. So huge demand on what we are usually used to in our lives. But that's why Jnana Yoga is considered to be quite complex and difficult, and that's why we are directed towards the Bhakti and Karma Marga to start with. Jnana Yoga can also be understood by a simple example. That which is empirically verifiable is scientifically acceptable. Empirically verifiable is fine, but what are the instruments you are using in order to do that empirical verification? The instruments that you are using are your senses. Now, are your senses perfect instruments? Senses are actually called instruments. Matraha is the word in Sanskrit for senses. Your senses are themselves imperfect. How can you attain God using imperfect measurement instruments and say that that is the only way I will be able to accept? If that can help me measure divinity, then divinity exists. If that does not help me measure divinity, then divinity does not exist. But the compass that we are starting with itself is a malfunctioning compass. The human body is a limited company. In the management jargon, you have private limited company, public limited company. Swami used to say, human body is a limited company. There are so many limitations to the human body. The blood pressure range I mentioned yesterday, the temperature at which the human body is maintained, the capability of the sound that the ear can hear. In fact, a dog can hear from a much longer distance than human beings, right? Certain animals can see a much larger range of colors than human beings. The human body as an instrument is having its own limitations. How can you use an imperfect instrument to attain the perfect divinity? So the path of wisdom or Jnana Marga is a means to attain divinity through inference and experience, not through verification. And in Nyaya Shastra of the Shatdarshana, this is called, in the simplest sense, it is called Shabda Pramana. You use the benefit of those who have already reached there and use their experience to reach the same goal. You may not be able to attain that through your own experience, but what others have achieved, you attempt to achieve that based on the path that they are shown. If you have not gone to Seattle, you will ask people who have gone to Seattle, which highway should I take, which is the exit, how is the traffic, how much time does it take, and based on their experience you will go. Of course, GPS is available, but in the olden times, this is the way to go to Seattle, right? Similarly, if we are not able, or we have not reached, or do not have the details of reaching God, you ask those who have attained. So the Jnana Marga helps us use paths of inferences in order to achieve the ultimate. But there is one simple prerequisite for all of this. The underlying requirement of all these three, Bhakti, Karma and Jnana Marga, is one word on which I am going to speak for the next 80 minutes. And that one word is what? Yearning. Yearning, yearning, yearning. That Artha Bhava, that desire. The first prerequisite for attaining divinity is to have the yearning to attain divinity. Only when you have the yearning will you move ahead on the path to finding. Only when you move to the path to finding will you achieve the ultimate divinity.